All right, gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about something a lot more exciting and a lot more dramatic. Let's talk about the Wizard of Liz and the Landon situation for a second. I know it's all over the internet, and on the surface, it looks like just another casual, young public influencer couple and a breakup, but it is something a lot deeper, because if you're a man and you're paying attention, there's a deeper message that I want you guys to understand and learn from, because it just goes a bit deeper. So listen up if you want to learn from this whole couple. So if you haven't already heard, or you don't know who the heck I'm talking about, Wizard of Liz is a huge influencer online who talks about personal empowerment and female empowerment and confidence and knowing how to step into your power position in life and all that jazz. So, I mean, she does really good, and all onus to her for putting people into their power a little bit, if you know what I mean. But there's some darkness into that. But I don't want to bash her by any means, but let's talk about the whole situation, okay? Landon is her fiance, and Landon is really young, and I think he made it quite early on in his journey as a man through tech or something. He's doing pretty well as a young man. And Landon cheated on Liz while she was 4 months pregnant, and she, as a response, went completely berserk. She went public, screenshots, her emotions was completely public. The whole thing just blew up. But this wasn't just about cheating. At least it's not my main takeaway, and that's why I feel like I need to take a moment to make a video about this. It was about a man who didn't know how to handle the pressure, and a woman who responded in a very, very protective but masculine way. So she went full berserk and defense mode. We're not here to obviously judge either one of them, and they must be going through a lot as individuals, especially Liz being 4 months pregnant and probably 5 by now. We're here to just break it down, because stuff like this doesn't just happen to big influencers and big Hollywood stars. It happens to men and women in all walks of life every single day, just without the spotlight. And I hear it in practice all of the time. And so, men, if you have no idea what's actually going wrong until it's too late, we can learn from them. Hello everyone, my name is Christy. I'm a therapist and a relationship coach. Welcome to my channel. If you're old, welcome back. And if you're new here, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and that like button and comment down below. Why are you here? What made you click on this video? And what do you know about Landon and Liz that you feel like you want to expose some of your own opinions and tea? And if you're a man, give your masculine perspective. We are all trying to have good discussion without judgment. So welcome. In this channel, we try to use psychology and theories in practice, as we are therapists overall, to understand what kind of decisions and traumas and triggers that lead us to the roads that we choose to embark on or we find ourselves in. Okay, so if you like videos like this, again, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and that like button, because it obviously helps the algorithm and it helps me send more of these videos out to the mass majority of men that I feel like can really help. So, taking a high-level overview, point number 1, there is a huge balance between the trophy wife / reality when it comes to Landon's perspective, in my point of view. So let's start with the obvious. Liz is gorgeous. Here's a picture right here. You haven't already seen her. This woman is the epitome of beauty. I give her a 10 out of 10. Well known. She seems to be very feminine. She's poised. She checks all of the boxes that a lot of guys think that they want in a partner. And here's where most men obviously mess up, especially Landon being much younger in his adulthood, call it manhood. They think that landing a high status woman is the goal. the trophy wife. And we all know you kind of have that as a young boy. Like once you've got her, you've won in life. You've won the male card. You've won the alpha card. But the admiration and the readiness are two different things. I just want to highlight that. Admiration as a boy or even as a man or winning a trophy wife is completely different from your readiness to actually handle a trophy wife. Now, I don't want you to get at me here, but I just want to state that. That's my opinion. Comment down below if you disagree. However, though, Landon probably saw her as an overall prize and not so much as a partner. But the thing is, when you're with a woman like that, in her status, I think she has like 7 million followers on YouTube. You're stepping into a lot of pressure and the kind of pressure that you've probably never experienced before, especially being so young as a man. Call it young adulthood. There's a tension, expectations for you to act a certain way as a dude, emotional depth. And if you're not grounded as a man, you completely fold. And if you've ever been in a relationship where you felt like you're walking on eggshells, trying to keep up with the epitome of what she believes as the man of the man, or secretly you're afraid she might outgrow you and outwin you, that's not a compatibility issue. Let me repeat, that is not a compatibility issue. It's a structure issue. So overall, Landon hasn't developed in his overall understanding of what he wants as a man or his own identity as a man to be prepared enough to deal with a woman of Liz's caliber. And so if you are somewhat dealing with a situation like that, where you feel like you are trying to live up to a woman's standards because she is this, that, and the other, and you feel like you're starting to be in a cycle of confusion and you're falling into impulses like Landon did, cheating, okay, and an infidelity. It's not a first time that I hear that. And if you want to speak to one of our therapists, you can. The link is in our bio. So please do, okay? Because it's a hard feat. But let's talk about, secondly, why he cheated. Now let's talk about the cheating overall. A lot of guys think cheating is about sex. A lot of men just say it's about sex. However, though, what I believe, and I've done a lot of research even deeper than that, it's about control. It's about the adrenaline of winning. It's about the adrenaline of feeling like you are on top of the world. And in a sense, it's an escape from something that you feel like you're not feeling like the way you want to completely. You're running away from a relationship that makes you feel like less than. Let me just say it out loud. And a moment where you feel like you're calling the shots again is usually what is going to make a man feel alive. And that's a lot of the times where I hear a lot of, at least our clients, cheat. It's nothing about love. It's nothing about emotional connection. It has nothing to do with that. It's about feeling like you can be the man again and you can call the shots again, that you can be in control. And so Landon was about to become a father, and he was engaged to a very, 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 very high caliber woman. She has millions and millions of people on viewing her videos every single day. And that kind of pressure, if a man hasn't done the emotional work, he starts to look for the eject button. He's going to look for buttons that help him put one foot in and one foot out. And for Landon, that was creating a secret Snapchat account and start messaging other people and women specifically to get that sense of validation, that sense of winning again. And here's the thing, he didn't cheat because he didn't love her. I kind of agree with that. He was making a video about how he just apologized for falling into his impulses and things like that. I think he knew. He cheated because he wasn't ready for that level of stress and self-sacrifice that comes with fatherhood and public commitment. So he found a shortcut to feel like a man again. But the shortcuts always cost more at the end. And I feel like that's how it kind of revealed itself. Now, in a woman's perspective, when a woman stops feeling safe, when Liz found out about the cheating and she stopped feeling safe, how did Liz respond? Now, don't get at me for my opinion, but very opinionated, and I'm not trying to bash women. However, though, I just have a strong sense of discernment for the rights and wrongs or morals. She went completely public. She blasted him, posted screenshots, and told the world what happened. Some guys see that as, okay, you go girl. Wow, she went full scorched earth mode. She scorched the crap out of him, and good for her. He did something really bad. But here is what you need to know. When a woman is pregnant and feels completely betrayed, I want to put onus on the fact that her nervous system flips onto protective mode. Biologically, she is vulnerable, and when the man she thought would protect her comes into threat, she goes complete masculine mode. Not because she wanted to, but because she has to. Now, we can argue to the fact about whether or not she has the emotional regulation enough as a woman or a mature woman to before she actually made the decision to go completely public, right? Like, you're about to have a child with a man, good or bad. I mean, do you want to expose your child, your future child, to that kind of public scrutiny? That's for another video. I would choose differently. But what I want to highlight is her reaction is very much how a woman takes control when she no longer trusts the man next to her. But here's the downside. Once a woman takes on that masculine energy and she starts defending herself in a very toxic way, you could say, very, very public, not very, very demure at all. Don't get at me. The relationship polarity in a philosophical sense is completely gone. There's no softness left, there's no trust, just pure, utter resentment, and a young child, an unborn child, caught in the middle, of course. So if you've ever felt like the woman you love turned completely cold, combative, flipped the switch on you, it probably didn't happen overnight. And there was a reason, and she is on survival mode. And if you can relate somehow to their situation and you're dealing with a relationship, a girlfriend, or a wife who did a complete switch on you, what I want to say, to be fair, is that it didn't happen overnight and the polarity is off. So if you feel like that's something you're going through, you can talk to one of us. We'll give you a female perspective and also break down some of the steps I feel like you can try to reflect on as a man in order to change. However, it's not completely her fault, but it's also not completely your fault. I know that's something I feel like the internet's not gonna like for me to say, because I mean, Landon did cheat. And so a lot of the times people are going to see the person who cheated as a horrible, horrible person. And I just feel like we got to go a little bit deeper if we want relationships to last. Yes, Landon did cheat. I think black and white, he is in the wrong. However, I feel like there's a lot of embedded nuances that they didn't resolve and they didn't talk about and they didn't reflect on, because it wasn't relationship for show. I mean, they did kind of have a honeymoon phase. It seemed like it, but in reality, it wasn't supposed to be a relationship just for social validation. And I feel like it kind of bit them in the butt. Anyways, to my next point, what does this say about modern relationships? What does the relationship between Wizard of Liz and Landon show us about modern relationships? And this is what I love. Let's be somewhat neutral, and what is the takeaway? This whole thing isn't just about Landon and Liz. It's a mirror about what's really going on in modern relationships. And I love how this came up because I can start speaking the truth and using a real life example to speak the truth. Men are being told to go after high value women, but there's no teaching them about how to hold that kind of relationship. And what does high value even really mean? Women are being told to boss up, to girl boss it, protect themselves, but they're not being taught how to stay soft in moments of triumphs and terror. In moments where they start to feel like their safety is under invasion. I mean, he cheated. She is in the complete right for feeling really, really betrayed and in the right to trigger her masculine response. But should should it have been handled that way? I mean, it's just going to lead to I'm just going to keep it there. And so with two people who were not as developed in their intention for relationships and marriage, we ended up in a complete mess. A man who cheats because he was completely overwhelmed and didn't prepare, and a woman who retaliates because she feels completely unprotected and betrayed. And very, very, very lastly, a baby who's going to grow up in a shadow of all of that. These videos, these TikTok videos, these Reddit posts are not going to go away. And so it's just a very, very sad thing. And it's a warning for you gentlemen. Obviously, control your impulses, but also reflect on the fact that there probably were things that Landon could have said, done, brought up before he felt like he needed to do that. And there was probably moments he didn't feel safe in bringing those issues up. And also, if I don't have a lot of female audiences, but there's a difference between feeling like you are right and reacting and feel righteous in your reaction. But there's also a difference between, you're in the right, but you can also choose how you react. And so I don't think Liz should have just blasted like that, right? I mean, she was in the right, but that doesn't mean she should have done that. And then also Landon, I think you should have reflected before, if you were ready for this journey before you put a ring on it. And so what is the conclusion? And what is the key takeaway for you men out there? As a woman, I just want to use as high level of points that I want you guys to take away from this video. Number one, don't chase status, build strength. You don't need a badass woman to feel like a man. I mean, it could be, okay? But what's most important is you need integrity, vision, and the ability to lead under pressure. And to lead also means, what kind of pressure do you want to embark yourself on? That doesn't make you less alpha because you choose somewhat of a badass woman that everyone is really, really into, and it makes you more of a man. No, I feel like the most masculine of men have discernment with the type of relationship and woman that he chooses to embark life with. And so if you are not ready, or you haven't even reflected on the type of pressure that you want to be responsible for, don't do it, right? Don't choose yet. Number two, cheating is just an unprocessed fear in disguise. It's a way to avoid responsibility. It's a way to have a way out. But all it really does is postpone your collapse overall, whether you're a man or a woman. I mean, cheating feels good at the moment, probably. It makes you feel a certain way that you wanted to for a long time in your relationship. And so you found it somewhere else. And so, I mean, it is a disguise for something much deeper. And if you sense as a man that you start having these inclinations and you start having these type of impulses that you want to fall into, speak up. Bring it up. And if you're fearful of bringing it up, try to find the reasons for that. Because all it does at the end of the day, if you actually do cheat, is it makes her into the right person. She's always going to be in the right after that. I mean, to be fair, right? And so no past issues, unresolved conflicts is ever going to be a bigger problem than the cheating. And so if you start having these type of inclinations, bring it up. Number three, masculine silence isn't always strength. Here's the number one thing that I always repeat on overdrive. But for a lot of my followers and even some of my clients, they argue against this. Why speak about it if there's no real solution? And so if you don't speak about it, bring it up and actually tell her that you're having these type of issues that may be the precursor to cheating, you can't course correct. You also train her that it is something she doesn't have to solve. And so I'm not putting blame on Liz at all. I never like to put blame on a very obvious victim in the woman that has experienced cheating. However, men, what I want to tell you is you have to bring it up. You do, or else you're just giving yourself a rationalized reason to actually cheat. And so why don't you just break up at that point? And so key point is you bring it up, because it usually comes to a higher cost if you do fall into your impulses. Silence is not always strength here, gentlemen, okay? Number 4, learn how to protect and not control. And what that means is protection means you have to be vulnerable. In order to protect someone, You have to tell her what you don't like and what you're not okay with. And also through that journey, you're gonna have to show her you were hurt and that you were in pain and that you felt like she said something that hurt you in public. And that's vulnerable, right? You want to act all stoic and stuff. You can't protect her, right? You can't protect the relationship as a unit. Control, not control, basically means that if you're focused on this emotion and this vision of life that you have to be the winner at all costs, then you're attached to the feeling of if those moments don't come up, you're less than. And so when a relationship ebbs and flows, especially nowadays in modern relationships, when men feel like they have their control factor under attack, things like this happen, right? And so learn how to focus on protection and not control, because sometimes there will be moments where she doesn't make you feel like you're on top of the world and you have to speak about it, right? Number 5 is stop trying to be liked and start being more authentic. And what that means is obviously with this situation, such a public breakup, public couple, they were very, very status driven. There's a lot of power couple vibes that came from this situation. And so if a couple or a person in the relationship has a strong attachment to social validation and status, I mean, some of that is probably very good. But if it gets overboard, it can be very, very, very toxic. And there's no genuine connection or genuine loyalty amongst the two people when that comes. It's almost like society coming in between the two people. Because at the end of the day, women and men want consistency overall. And not just charm, not just muscles, not just a pretty face, not just promises, not just a ring. And so Wizard of Liz situation was very, very, very messy, but also it's a perfect example of what happens when a man isn't fully built yet. And also a woman who stops trusting and using her masculine energy and doing things that she's probably going to regret in a couple of years or even months. And it's just gonna spiral for the both of them. So you don't need to become perfect. You just need to have an idea of how you want your relationship to be. What are the foundations between you and your partner that are required in order to make it through the really, really hard times in life? Because relationships aren't going to be perfect, okay? And yes, we're going to hope for the best, but when the worst comes, how do we choose to deal with it as two people? Putting the relationship first, maybe, right? But cheating is such a sensitive one, and so I don't blame them for not being able to work it out, but I also believe in the good in people. And I mean, it could probably break my butt, but I don't believe cheaters are always cheaters. And so I think, sensitively speaking right now, it could have been worked out, but take it if you will. So if you went through a cheating situation like this, you were the cheater or you've been cheated on, I hope this video kind of helped you put some perspective and light onto a very sensitive situation that happens to a lot of couples out there, whether you be the victim or the perpetrator. And if you're trying to get through infidelity and you're a man wondering why she's stone cold, she is trying to attack you, and you feel like you have no choice but to completely break up with her or divorce, feel free to book a call with one of our therapists, because this is what we focus on. We believe in love. We believe in closing the gap between men and women. And we believe that if you have a strong commitment to making something work and you're ready to actually change and take accountability for some of the mistakes that you made and start being vulnerable to the things that have happened that have led you to this road, there's no problems that can't be resolved. And so, yeah, book a call with one of our therapists if that's something you're interested in, because we obviously focus on working with men. So I hope this gave a high-level overview. I guess the key takeaway is, gentlemen, choose wisely, commit wisely, and don't give yourself an obligation that you're not ready for, because it will bite you in the butt if you can't. And also, if you're a woman, just because you've been hurt doesn't mean you deserve to let everyone know, right? There's a vulnerable baby out there that is going to come into this world with his or her own life, and it just breaks my heart that that's what they're working with right now. So love you guys all. I hope you don't hate me for giving this tidbit. Yeah, don't come at me, but comment down below what you think. What did you learn if you're a man? What is your opinion with this scandalous, highly public breakup? And also, what can you relate with or relate to? Have you cheated? And if you've cheated, if you feel comfortable, comment a couple of reasons why, what happened prior. Love you guys all. Until next time, bye. Hi everyone, if you enjoyed our content, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and IG where we post daily and YouTube where we post weekly.